Welcome back to our lesson on the 3 levels of intuitive wisdom. This is level 2. So what happens when you don't trust or listen to your own inner wisdom, your own higher self, your own guidance? What do you think happens? Because you're not just left to flounder. There are support systems in place to make sure that even if you are unwilling or unable or not ready to listen to your own counsel and your own wisdom, that you will still be guided to make wise choices for yourself. So what I call the second level of intuitive wisdom is your external guides and energy beings. And who are they? Well, they're your spirit guides, if you will. They are external to you, to your energetic system. They're your support group, they're your spiritual team, however you want to call them. And in the Confident Healer, we do a whole section on spirit guides and channeling. So I'm going to leave most of that discussion for another training video. Today, we're going to presume and assume that we do have external energies around us, spirit guides or angels or deceased loved ones, who want us to succeed and want to help us in the best way that they can. So that when we decide to ignore our own knowing and our own wisdom, they're going to show up for us in often very subtle ways. They're going to be that nudge to talk to that person at that party. They're going to be that quote unquote chance encounter on the subway or in the grocery line, or that bit of information that suddenly lands in front of us and we have to pay attention to it. It's these subtle ways in which they communicate with us to help us make our own free will decision to follow that internal guidance. And they show up when we need them most. And without giving too much away about the spirit guide section, if you think they haven't showed up for you when you were asking for them, it's very likely that you already knew the answer, you already knew what you needed to do. And they knew that you knew the answer. And so they just stayed quiet, because you do have free will and you do get to make these decisions on your own. In fact, at the end of the day, you make all the decisions on your own, whether you are empowered in that or not. That's my belief. So, connecting with our spirit guides and our external energies that are around us, I have an exercise that I want to share with you about that. And again, this is coming from my book, Falling into Being Human, the manual for my Healers program. All right, so you can close your eyes while I'm reading this if you would like to, or you can keep your eyes open. It's up to you. Just take a moment to sit quietly and go within. Connect to your thinking mind and ask a question. Something like, how many eggs are in a dozen? You will immediately hear the answer in your own voice. Now, actually, I have to interrupt just for a moment. That would be true for me until this past summer when we went to Iceland. My answer to how many eggs in a dozen would have been 12. Right? That makes sense. A dozen is 12. We have 12 eggs in a dozen. In Iceland, they come in tens. So if you're from Iceland, your answer might be 10. There are 10 eggs in a dozen. Anyhow, I digress. Stay with me. So after you've received that bit of obvious information, what is your name? What's your street address? That kind of thing. I want you to now open a connection between you and your spirit guide or guides. Don't worry about what that looks like. I know the first question might be for some of you, how do I do that? Just do it. Just think about opening a connection. That's as easy as it has to be. And when you open that connection, I want you to ask another question. The example I give in here is, what is my life purpose? So now we're talking about a bigger question that maybe you've been struggling with, and it hasn't been easy for you to hear your own counsel around that. From this connection, or from this question, and in connection with your guide, you should receive an immediate knowing. I want you to step out of the way if you have a preconceived idea of what that answer should sound like or feel like to receive. And I encourage you to allow yourself to be simply open to however the information shows up. So remember the clairs. clairvoyant, clairaudient, empathetic, all the ones that we talked about before. I want you to allow the answer to show up. Could be a color, could be a sound, could be one word, could be a paragraph. Communication with your guides, though, is instant and telepathic, and it moves beyond normal conversation. So take a piece of paper and record your experience of this exercise. And if any kinds of hesitation, doubt, worry, concern, judgment, filters showed up, again, from that beautiful place of curiosity, just simply record that. I felt like when I heard the answer, it couldn't be true, or I was making it up, or it must have been my imagination, because we're going to talk about imagination as well at a later date. Just let it be whatever it needs to be and whatever it was. Okay. And also pay attention to how different it felt and sounded when you answered your own question, how many eggs in a dozen, and then when you received information about that bigger question that you were asking. All right. That's as simple as that. So, second level of intuition is looking at external support team, support group that's there to help us, that gives us that hit of knowing and wisdom that is seemingly to come outside of ourselves. Spirit guides, angels, whatever you want to call it. And if you didn't have great success the first time you did that exercise, step away, have a cup of tea, come back and try it again. All right, stay tuned. The third level of intuitive wisdom is coming up.